whole Gamergate thing that's been going on since last year, how do you keep the faith now?
That's a really good question. It is often very hard. I play a lot of games. I play as many games as I can. I try to remember what I'm doing this for. I play games that people have never heard of that were made by like some stranger who I think deserves a chance. I go to game jams. I meet with younger people, kids and young women, and I watch like groups of like 28-year-olds trying to design a video game, and it inspires me because I see that the future is not going to be like this. But yeah, I play a lot of games, and I meet students actually, honestly, because I'm always pleasantly surprised these days when I go to schools because the students are smarter and they're more progressive than the industry legends that I'm surrounded by. So I look at younger people and I think it's getting better. Another question?
Let's see if this works.
Thank you for your help.
Okay. So you are basically doing a cultural revolution in a sense.
Sort of.
Yes, okay.
Maybe a little.
So when you are pushing values in the gaming industry and in the gaming press, don't you need to be criticized objectively, and what do you think about ethics in video games?
Yeah, I'll answer that. What is objectively? Tell me, what is an objective opinion?
Objective opinion means that you are taking yourself off your agenda and you are looking yourself.
How would I have an opinion that wasn't informed by my beliefs? Should I pretend I'm not myself when I'm playing a video game?
No, but you should take yourself away from your personal feelings and what.
So I shouldn't. So if I'm playing a game, I'm not going to have feelings about it, only thoughts.
No, you will have feelings, of course.
And where
Most
do
of
those
the games
feelings
are.
Come from?
Those feelings they are psychological, of course, and your
they're
social
informed
connections.
by my.
Social connections, yes.
Yeah, and my experience.
Yes, your experience and social connections.
My identity.
But my point was, if you are pushing a counter-revolution, in a sense, in a gaming culture, so why are you doing it? Why don't you just make your own circle of culture in a gaming industry?
I have.
Why are you
Excuse
trying
me.
to Indigra?
I'm answering your question.
Yeah, okay.
So the thing about why don't you make your own circle, I am and I have and I do. Certainly, I'm very transparent about my agenda, my politics, and my beliefs, and if you don't share them and you would like to hear reviews from someone else, the option is simply not to read my work and to read someone else's instead. But the idea that someone can be objective when they're talking about an emotional creative medium is fallacious, and it is a heritage of product culture where we believe that there's one right way to see a game, you put a number on it and you buy it or not, and I just don't believe in seeing games that way. There are a number of websites that do though, so you just don't, if you're of the opinion that agenda doesn't belong in games, then, I don't know, read GameSpot.
Hi. Elsa. Okay, very much related to the first question, but when you are in that situation where people ask you about ethics in gaming and so on, and there's just that, how do you deal with that fear? Because for me, I'm studying computer engineering right now, and you're just constantly surrounded by that, and it can get so overwhelming. Like, do you have coping mechanisms for that?
Just this morning, I posted on Facebook that every time I give a talk now, I'm scared because I don't know what to expect. Obviously I don't want to go someplace where everybody agrees with me. It's fine for me to be asked questions like that. But I wish I could say I had a magic solution to deal with the fear, but I don't. It's part of my life now. I persist in spite of that. I surround myself with things that inspire me. I make sure I play a lot of the games that I like. I don't know, I have a lot of good colleagues, and I belong to some support groups for women facing similar challenges who, you might not know what it's like, being a woman in games and not knowing if you're about to walk into a room with one of those guys, that you read on the internet, because they're there, and even people who aren't going to hurt you, might want to confront you and tell you you're wrong in a way that you might not experience if you had a less controversial opinion or if you had a less controversial gender. It's scary, yeah. I don't have a good answer for you, but you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it, you know?
Okay, yes, so I want to know if you're like trying to reform gaming culture, do you think that there's enough consumer demand for this kind of culture that you're trying to advocate?
Well, I want to make a slight correction in that I'm not trying to change what exists. I think commercial gaming culture will always exist. I hope it does always exist. It should always exist for the people that enjoy it. We are proposing alternatives. We are making games bigger by adding more to it and inviting more people to it, and making it broader and making it reach more people, having different markets of games. So yeah, there's a demand for it. I make my whole career on it, so I hope it grows.
Yeah, but I'm just like, if you, what reads on the screen right now that you want us to find an alternative.
Yes?
So isn't there like a risk that if you're going to push this niche view in gaming, you're also going to have a niche audience?
I mean, I think games currently already have a niche audience. They're about like one or two different things for about one or two different kinds of people. I think that we can only benefit by making games more interesting, more sophisticated, and more diverse. It's not about pushing something artificial into a space that doesn't want it. It's about enriching every space with a broader variety of perspectives. So it's not like you're going to suddenly force Call of Duty players to play a game about feminism or something. You know what I mean? But I think there's room for all kinds to exist in the same space and to learn from one another.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Currently, there's like this discourse on feminism, gender issues, and such.
Sorry, what did you say after feminism?
Gender issues and
Oh, gender
diversity
issues, yes.
and stuff like this.
Yep.
You know, I'm not saying that that's a war that's already been won.
Right.
But what do you think where do you move on from there? Might class be the next?
Yeah, I mean, I
easy.
personally believe in intersectionality, which means it's never just about gender, that it's about where your position in society and what advantages you do and don't have. So yes, I think it's never just about gender for me. It's about class as well and race as well. And you know, it's interesting, once you look at it, you know, there really is a high cost of participation in video games that is really, the tickets are only easily available to certain people. Let's say if you grew up poor and you don't have the hardware, how are you going to get access to this? How are you going to learn to make video games? You know, you hire people who are like you. You know, if in a job you look to your friends or your colleagues or people you've worked with before. You don't think about, you know, maybe I'll look to a completely different part of the world and find, you know, give an opportunity to someone. So it's, yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think women in this room, would you mind putting your hands up if you think we've won and it's finished? So, yeah, I think according to most of us, we still have some work to do to make the game industry feel like a constructive place for everyone. But I do take your point that, you know, class also matters and race also matters, and that when we're looking to refresh our space with fresh perspectives and to consider people who haven't been heard before, we have to think beyond just women. For me, that's what the word feminism means. It's maybe an imperfect word in that regard, but intersectionality.
You touched upon DIY culture in the early 90s, and there's a perception in Finnish games industry that it has grown out of the hacker culture. For example, we have the assembly event twice a year, and you have all these kind of cultural competitions where people do computer graphics and computer sound, and people mess around and participate in this community. Do you have an opinion on that kind of a digital culture and its role in finding alternatives?
Interestingly, the more I travel, the more I find that each country or each sort of development scene, whether it's centered around a city or a school, they have their own DIY culture. They have their own creative norms that are informed by their environment. The style is informed by how they're educated, whether there is a big AAA studio near them or not, because that informs what kind of abilities and skills go into the local scene. So yeah, I think that hacker culture is definitely a viable grassroots scene. You know, like the people who are indie in New York have different values from the people who are indie in San Francisco, have different values from the people who are indie in Copenhagen. So it's really interesting for me to actually look around and sort of get to know different cultures by exploring their gaming culture.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you something about, well, in fact, I really enjoyed the comparison to the music scene.
Oh, thank you.
And just thinking about that MTV was the one that made a lot of alternative music scenes really big in the end. Do you see any of that kind of things in gaming industry? We're pretty tied into ecosystems like Apple Store or Steam. Are we able to find channels that would help on discovery when it comes to alternative games?
You know, I'm hoping. I think YouTube has been really, really interesting for games, and the Let's Play style has allowed way more people to, like, I know that like young girls today watch like PewDiePie play video games, even though they don't play them themselves, and because they enjoy him. And I think that, you know, we have a couple of guys right now who do Let's Plays in a certain way, but you know, that isn't necessarily for everyone, but I think that the more popular that format becomes, there's going to be all different kinds of Let's Players as well, you know, playing from different perspectives or playing in different ways. And I suspect that rather than just the informal sort of YouTuber that we have now, we're going to have more channels that are more targeted for more specific discovery that, you know, people will watch and enjoy based on their own interests, so that hopefully there's a world where everyone, no matter who they are, can find a game for them, where everyone can make a game and have it connect with the right audience, you know, no matter what kind of thing that you like to do. But yeah, I see it sort of happening in social media and in social video, hopefully. I can take one more.
Hi there.
Hi.
So, as we are in Finland, like Finnish game industry is like, I don't know, 90% mobile. So most of the companies actually doing mobile games. And the challenge with mobile games is that majority of those mobile game companies are actually focusing on very broad audience.
Yeah.
And there we come
broad
with
in the, not broad in the let's make something exciting, creative way.
No.
Yeah.
But from like,
Yeah.
age-wise or, you know, geographically or whatnot.
Yes.
And the problem comes from discoverability.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest problems the game developers have at the moment.
Yes.
And the question basically is about, so where a person like you as a writer, where should you actually be writing about these games that you basically both like educate the people who play all kinds of games, but do not read like games press or games websites?
I'm not sure I understand your question. You're asking where I find out about mobile games?
No. The question is about, so I think the challenge at the moment is that those game developers, they are like basically focusing on very broad, like, you know, audience. But currently the games, like websites or magazines are focused on, games which are targeted to a specific audience, which are sort of the gamers.
So you're wondering about the future of journalism for newer audiences and different audiences.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. In terms of the mass market mobile game audience, like I wonder if the person who plays Candy Crush or Angry Birds or something like that, I wonder if that person reads reviews or reads gaming articles. I don't necessarily know whether there's a market there for that yet, but I do know that curation is the most important sort of frontier for our current digital society. Like, you know, people used to find things on Twitter or by RSS feed, and nobody actually uses those things anymore. So I think there's going to have to be some kind of curation solution that comes up to help people find the kind of content that they want. I don't know if necessarily that's going to be games journalism. I mean, even honestly, I just don't know if that's relevant anymore for finding that, for that type of person, finding that type of game. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have a really smart answer to that. Thank you. Well, that'll do it for me. I really appreciate your attention and your smart questions. Thank you.